Have you ever found yourself on an online product listing and you've read through the description and the title and you've looked at all the pictures and then you're like, but what about blank? Well, that is what you don't want your customers to be experiencing. What you don't want to do is leave them with obvious questions that they have to dig around to find the answers to, or even worse, actually contact you about, because hey, that sets the bar pretty high and it makes it a lot less likely that they're going to purchase from you. So today I'm going to talk about exactly that, and that is you really don't want to leave your customers with unanswered questions. G'day, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess Van Den. I've been running my own successful handmade jewelry business, Ethereal, since 2008 and full-time since 2010. And since 2013, I've also been helping other makers like you and me work out how to have a thriving and profitable handmade business. And that's what today's video and all of my videos are about. So let's get started. So your job as a salesperson is to anticipate and answer any particular objections someone might have to purchasing your product. So that usually comes in the form of a question that is not answered. They might have a question about the size, the shape, the shipping time, the shipping cost. Will this color stay true or will it fade? Will this fit this person or that person? There's a myriad of questions that your customer may have depending on what it is that you sell. And I see so many people making the mistake of not answering customers' questions, whether that's through not understanding that they have them or through sheer laziness, whatever it might be. You don't want to be that person. Don't be that salesperson who doesn't anticipate any objections or questions that the customers might have and doesn't answer them. You want to make sure, especially when you're selling online, because you're not talking to the person, you can't naturally answer questions through a conversation. You want to make sure that in your product description, you are answering any potential questions that they may have so that you reduce the barrier to purchase. Any question that you leave your customer with increases the barrier to purchase. It's something that they're unsure about, and so it makes them hesitate, and it makes them less likely to end up buying from you. Now, how do we do this? Well, obviously you want to make sure that your product descriptions are as detailed as possible, making sure that you have all of the potential features of your product listed out there for your customer. So size, shape, the use of your product, care instructions, all that sort of stuff. Make sure it's there and easy for them to access. The same thing goes for the benefits of your product. I see so many people with product descriptions that are all about the features and don't really talk about the benefits, like the why. Why would somebody want this thing? I don't want it because it's 4 inches by 6 inches and the color blue necessarily. I want it because it fulfills some need in my life, or it fills some void in my life, something I want, something I need, an emotion I want to feel. So you've got to make sure that you're also talking about the benefits that the product is going to have. What benefit will this product have to your customer's life? Because at the end of the day, we buy based on emotion. We'd like to think we're logical and rational, and we are maybe somewhat, but at the end of the day, we usually make a decision based on an emotional feeling of some description. That's what really makes us click the buy button at the end of the day. It's like, yes, this is the thing I wanted. This is the thing I needed. Whether that's a logical want or need or not, and a lot of consumer goods are not a logical want or need. They're just something people feel like they need to have for whatever reason. So you've got to make sure that you're getting those wants and needs across, the things that your product might be fulfilling for people. Another thing you really need to have is a really detailed policy section. You need to have clear policies about any potential objection a person might have to shipping, lost mail, customs charges, can they return it? If so, when? If so, all products or some products? Will you, if it's a thing like I make rings, will I resize it? Is there a fee with that? There's so many different little nuances about your particular product. You've got to make sure that you answer all those questions in your policies. a good sign that you've done this over time is that when you do get questions from people, you can basically just copy and paste from your policies document or your description to answer those questions. And that will happen. I'll come back to that in a minute. So the next section is your photos. Now, your photos should convey everything you possibly can about that product. You want to show it from the front, the back, the top, the bottom, the inside, the outside. Is there a way you take it apart, put it back together again? Any potential variation or aspect of your product, you want to make sure you're showing that in the photos. Does it change over time? Is there something people need to know about how it's used or how it's put together? So make sure that you're getting that across in your product photos and answering any potential questions like that. Like, imagine you're trying to sell a bag and you show the front, the back, and you show it being modeled, and the person's like, yeah, but does it have a pocket inside for my phone? I don't know, you haven't told me, you haven't shown me, so show them the inside. Answer that question. This bag has a pocket for your phone, it has a zippered pouch for your wallet, it has a key hook, whatever it might be. All of those little things that you have in there, make sure, is it the same color inside? Is it a contrasting color? Like, people care about that sort of stuff. This is especially something they're going to be carrying around with them and using all the time. They want to make sure it does the thing that they want it to do and look the way and feel the way they want it to feel. So make sure that your photos are reflecting all of those things. Now, another thing you can do with your photos that a lot of people don't think to do is convey additional information and vital information. So additional information might be things like show a photo of your packaging, show a photo of you in your workspace, in your studio. Especially when you sell handmade, this is a really great way of immediately showing people, oh, this is handmade. This is the person who's making my thing in the place where it's getting made. Like, that's a nice thing and it's a nice connection. So if you have those spare photo spots on Etsy that you're not using, why not put that in there? Because remember, most people who land on a product of yours, whether it's on Etsy, Amazon, eBay, your own shop, wherever you're selling, chances are they might not see your shop front, so they might not even look at your about page or your policies or whatever. You want to make sure that as much information as possible is on the product page to grab their attention and entice them to click the buy button. Another thing you can do on those photos is actually put text on the photo to convey vital information. Like, maybe it's a dimensional thing, or I'll give you an example of one of my products. I sell oxidized sterling silver rings. Now, it looks black in the photo, but that is a surface treatment and it wears off over time. And when I first started selling them, I didn't, explain this very well, or people didn't see it. And so I got people who were like, hey, this is wearing off. What's that all about? So I actually now in my photos, I literally have a photo that shows the progression of that weathering over time and literally says your ring will weather over time and the surface treatment will come back to, and it'll turn back into this color. So if they're just flicking through the photos, it's really obvious that that's what's going to happen. And that solves a whole bunch of problems because they know what they're getting. It's not a surprise, and you answer that question up front. So use that space to your advantage and make sure you're answering all those potential objections. Okay, so let's talk about the final issue here, which is when people don't read stuff. It happens a lot. These days especially, everybody's shopping on their phones. And they just pull it up, look through the photos. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Buy. And there might be a lot of really important information that they've missed that you've got in the description and your policies and stuff like that. At the end of the day, you can't really control that. You can't control someone else's behavior. The best thing you can do is have the information there so that if there's any issues down the line, you can refer that customer back to it and say, hey, as per my policies, or as I said in the description, here is the issue that you've just raised with me. If you'd actually, well, don't say if you'd actually read the description. I know that's what you're thinking. That's what we're all thinking, but that's not very good customer service. But if it's there, you can allude to it potentially, or even copy paste it so you don't have to type it out again. You can just grab it and put it in there and explain the situation. So that's why putting as much information in the title and the photos and, that first little bit of the description, if possible, is really good. But for your peace of mind and for your protection as a business owner, having all of this stuff in the policies and your description is a really great idea. And the same goes for people who just email you a question, and this will happen a lot. Like I was just recently running a launch for my course Setup Shop, which is a 30-day course that helps you to, start from nothing, and then by the end of it you've got a fully running shop, and you've figured everything out. It's a system you can go through. And I had a couple of people email me asking me questions, and the answers were literally in the email that I just sent them, like black and white, literally exactly what they've just asked me in the reply to the email was in the original email. So that is, that's just something that happens when you're in business. People skim read, they miss details. I've done it myself, when I've asked a question, I'm like, oh yeah, that was really obvious. I'm sorry. So, don't feel too upset about that, or don't take it personally. It's just the way it is. We're all very busy. We're all living fast-paced lives, and sometimes people will miss stuff. So if you want the sale, do your best to help them out and answer the question. If they've taken the time and effort to actually contact you about something, then they are really keen. They just want the question answered. So answer it. But, it's a lot easier, and it will save you a lot of drama in the long run if you have those answers already written there. Because if somebody does have a question, usually they'll go look a little bit deeper. They'll be like, oh, what about? And then if they read the description, oh, hey, they've answered that question. Or I look in their policies, oh, okay, well, that's their shipping returns policy. Great, that's answered my question. Now I feel like I'm confident to buy. So do the work. I want to give you a quick example of where people don't do this: international shipping. If you are offering international shipping, do not make the customer contact you to ask you for the price. Figure it out. You're making the bar a lot higher for them to have to actually make that step. Whereas if you just figured it out, literally put it into your software, and that means when they click the button, it's there and it's easy and it's ready to go. I know that's a little bit of work, but you've got to weigh up the risk benefit here of, I do that little bit of extra work once and potentially get the sale multiple times from multiple different people. Whereas if I never did that work, they might just read it and go, oh, that's too much effort, and click away and find somebody else who has done the work to answer their question without them having to take that extra step to contact you. Remember, it's your job as a salesperson to answer any potential objections your customer will have about purchasing your product up front. Reduce the barrier to clicking the buy button, make it easy for them, answer their questions, and not only will it make it more likely that you'll get more sales, it'll make people feel better about you because you'll look professional and competent, and they'll know that you're serious about what you're doing and that you care and that you've done the work to make sure that you've made it as easy as possible for them to make the decision on whether to buy or to find something else. Thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to be reminded when you get more videos from me about how to grow a thriving and profitable handmade business. Make sure to hit the notification bell if you want YouTube to tell you when I release a new video, which at this stage is once a fortnight. That's once every 2 weeks, I'll be releasing a new video. And if you want even more, check out my podcast, which comes out weekly. That's the Create and Thrive podcast on all good podcasting apps that are out there. And I interview a lot of really successful makers on my podcast. So I usually have 1 or 2 interviews a month with someone who's doing a really wonderful job with their handmade business. So go check that out. Oh, and if you want a little bit more about branding and developing your business, then you might like to check out my course, Brand Your Craft, which was actually developed for me by a graphic design teacher who teaches lots of other people at university how to come up with good graphic design and good branding. So you can check that out over at createandthrive.com. I'll put a link in the description below. And if you want more help growing that business of yours, come over and check out the Thriver Circle, my membership community and educational hub for makers at thrivercircle.com. The link is in the description below. I have a huge bunch of in-depth workshops, podcasts, and a community there. And of course, most importantly, my Your Year to Thrive program, which is a year-long program that takes you through everything you need to do and know in order to start and grow a successful handmade business. It's the course I wish I had in my first 5 years of business, and it is a year-long course with one lesson a day. Or a day? No, that's a bit much, isn't it? One lesson a week for a whole year, slowly walking you through every step so it's actionable and doable in your busy life.